249 years ago, a man was born. Not just any man, a man that would soon impact society, an invention that would contribute to the growth of the American economy by lowering freight rates, offering another way of transportation, and creating jobs. This man's name was Robert Fulton, and he is the most widely credited for the invention of the first successful steamboat. It was 1765, time was ticking, the world was changing, and in that very year, on November 14th, a man determined to change a way of living was brought into this world. He was small but mighty, and he was ready to craft something that would be a part of American history. My objective is that you will be able to know about Robert Fulton's work and how his inventions of steamboat influenced America at the time. Robert was born in this very state, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. As a young boy, he took an interest in building Roman candles, rockets, and hand-propelled paddle wheelboats. As he transitioned into a teenager, his interest transformed from building mechanical items to painting and drawing his ideas. By the time Fulton turned 18, he moved to Philadelphia, where he continued to draw and to even paint portraits. However, that was not cutting it for his monthly bills, so he went into sales, which was something he was unpassionate for, to say the least. It wasn't what he was really striving to do in life. By the age of 21, Fulton traveled to London to study painting with family friend Benjamin West, who was one of the leading American painters living in England. 4 years later, after studying portraits and mechanical drawings, Fulton began to study and specialize in canal navigation and shipbuilding. Later that year, Fulton began working and designing on building a submarine. His first real experiments with engineering began in France. The outcome was mediocre and could use some improvement, so when he went to England, he planned to improve on it. This submarine that he built in France was named the Nautilus. The Nautilus was built in 1801. It was mostly made out of sheathed in copper, and it was one of the first submarines invented. Here is a short description of what was exactly on the Nautilus. A is the ballast pumps. B is the conning tower with glass ports. C is the auger, which was basically the horn of the Nautilus. D was the torpedo charge, which was pulled by the rope against the enemy hull. E was the sail, which was seen folded in the main illustration. F is propeller handwheel, and G was the vertical and horizontal rudders. After Fulton's great success with the Nautilus, he returned to America in 1806. He now would invent the Clermont, which was named after Livingston's estate on the Hudson River. Robert Fulton invented the Clermont by using the steam engine. The following diagram shows the major components of a piston steam engine. This core-head engine is an old type of marine engine which was used on the first commercially successful steamboat, North River, or the Clermont, which was made by Fulton. After being used in the Clermont, the engine peaked in the early 19th century, but was eventually supplanted by the walking beam engine that is used in engines today. Back then, there were some limitations as far as steam engines. For example, this engine ran at the same speed as the side wheels. With a single cylinder, the engine had to run both wheels, so it was impossible to run the wheels in opposite directions. This made these steamers less maneuverable than the side wheelers that came later. Finally, after about a year, the Clermont was launched on Monday, August 17, 1807. Carrying a party of invited guests, the Clermont steamed off at 1 o'clock. Pinewood was the fuel. At 1 o'clock Tuesday, the boat arrived at Clermont, 110 miles from New York City. After the visit at the Clermont, the boat would continue its voyage to Albany, which was 40 miles away. With the new technology Fulton provided, the boat would cover 150 miles in 32 hours, making it an 8-hour trip. The steamboat Clermont was a success. The boat was then laid up for 2 weeks while the cabins were built, a roof built over the engine, and the coverings placed over the paddle wheels to catch the water spray. After alterations were made, such as building a roof over the engine, the Clermont began making regular trips to Albany, carrying at times 100 passengers in any time of the season. I have concluded throughout this experience of studying Fulton's work that if he hadn't gone back to the drawing board as many times as he did, then steamboats would not be existing like they are today. At the time he invented them, they were just a simple luxury. Without a beginning, they wouldn't be anything like they are today. and the fact that we have access to them today is really because of Mr. Fulton. Not only has Robert Fulton's inventions changed America today, but also back then. Steamboats were some of the main ways people traveled. In fact, at the time, horseback was still a very popular way to travel. Then he invented steamboats, which made traveling easier because one could go somewhere without simultaneously maintaining an animal. I hope that my presentation made it obvious that America would not be like itself today without Robert Fulton's inventions and work. This topic relates to the theme of expansion because America itself expanded with the help of Fulton's steamboats that allowed a new way for trade and traveling to be done. In conclusion, whenever I think about the 1800s, I will now remember the man that was ahead of his time, the one who wanted to change the way of traveling and trade, and due to his hard work, that man successfully made an impact and a difference. Thank you.